Jets up to the 30, the 20, 10, 5. Torrey Horton back to the end zone.
48-yard play. Guess who? Body up the middle, making another move to the outside. 15, 10, end zone again.
Keeps it. Nice move by Brown. He's got space. He's got 6. 35-yard touchdown for Byron Brown. A record-setting night for the South Florida quarterback.
Down so far, a little bit of a high snap. Genty right up the middle. Genty has room. Ashton Genty, give him 6.
Second and long. Lagar tries to pin it in a row. It does. Rowe stays up. The Suns offense 4-3 wins. Incredible effort for Rowe.
The G5 Hive. All G5, all the time.
Welcome to the G5 Hive Live. College football is back, baby. We just had week 1, and we're here to bring you G5 college football coverage that you love each and every week. I am Luke Probasco, and I am joined by my co-host this way, Justice. Justice, how was your Labor Day weekend?
It's been pretty good. Watching that intro, like Ashton Genty, give him 6 has a totally new meaning this week, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah, give him 6 touchdowns.
No, give him 6, like give him 6 times.
I was out with the family. I guess you would call it a glamping trip. Kid has been wanting to go camping. He wants to, go go camping out in a tent next. So we're going to do that for his birthday here soon. So I did not get to watch as much as I would like to week 1, but I got as much up to date that I could. I asked some questions, reached out to beat reporters about some injuries. So we're going to have that for you coming up soon.
Yeah, I mean, it was not a home game for Old Dominion, but obviously I spent a lot of time watching the Old Dominion game. The rain delay, thunder delay, whatever it was, certainly didn't help like get me back to being able to watch other games. But ODU had a watch party that I went to, and it was pretty cool. I got to meet some players' families, and they had raffles. They had a full-sized helmet autographed by Ricky Ronnie. Unfortunately, I did not win that. The guy sitting next to me won it. Kind of a bummer, but
and then you just had to look at it the rest of the time.
Right? Well, they didn't give it to him till the very end. So
okay.
that was like the last prize. But no, it was a good weekend, and had fun. And I feel like I spent like the last 2 days doing nothing but getting our templates ready for today's show and graphics, and so hopefully it won't take me as long next week to get everything done. But yeah, man, it's been good. It's been fun, and college football's back. Love it. It's going to be gone before we know it. Hi to Billy. What's going on, Billy? Glad you could join us again. Always one of our loyal listeners and supporters, and we greatly appreciate it. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you're watching us on X, please give us a follow, a like, and a retweet. And if you're listening in podcast form, please rate and review. We're doing good on YouTube. We're crossed the 400 follower mark. Now we're on to 500, and to the moon, man, right to the moon. And good things coming. We did an interview last week. I did an interview last week with Dylan Goffney, wide receiver from Colorado State. That dropped this morning. You and I did another interview today with the player that'll release sometime towards the end of the week. Man, just lots of stuff going on.
Lots of things to be excited for.
All right, now let's get to the good stuff, guys. Let's get to our week 1 review. What do you got for us, Luke?
All right, so we had our G5 versus P4 matchups. We had Miami of Ohio at Northwestern on the practice field there by Lake Michigan. Northwestern pulls out a 13-6 win. Then we've got UNLV.
I was just going to say, I mean, that game, like, I don't know. I think it was just an ugly game on both sides, right? Northwestern's not a great team, a Big Ten team. I really thought Miami of Ohio would could squeak that out, but they just couldn't get it done. One thing that did emerge was Cade McDonald. Right, he looked like the favorite target there of Brett Gabbert. But yeah, they just really couldn't get it done against Northwestern. Yeah, that would have been a huge win for the MAC, right? Especially like to try to increase their chances for getting that automatic berth. But at the end of the day, they just didn't get it done.
And then we had UNLV, as we mentioned before, pulls out the 27-7 win over Houston. That was just a shellacking. I got to watch some of that at a bar while I was glamping. Made it to some live music, and that was inside, so I got to watch a little bit of that. I just can't wait for that Friday matchup. I think is October 25th, Boise State and UNLV. I think that'll be a great game.
Houston, man, they're bad. They are bad. I don't even know what to say about them. Like I don't know what their schedule is, but it's possible they might not win a game. They did not look good, and one thing like UNLV like offensively like didn't necessarily like they scored points, but they didn't put up huge numbers offensively. I mean, I don't even think Ricky White had like 10 yards, right? I think he had like 2 catches for like 9 yards or something. I mean, they only had like 70 yards passing, I think, right? Or something along those lines.
It was not great.
Yeah, I mean, offensively, like UNLV didn't necessarily look all that great offensively. Defensively, they looked amazing. Houston just looked, really, really bad altogether. So it's going to be a long season for the Houston Cougars, but kudos to the Rebels there for getting that first G5 versus P4 win.
And a game that we thought was going to be a little bit closer, as it was on our upset alert. Wyoming goes down to the Forks of Arizona State, 48-7.
Yeah,
I didn't get to watch any of it. I heard it didn't look very good.
It was not good. It was not good for the Cowboys. I don't know if there was anything positive that came out of that game for the Cowboys. Just not good. I mean, I guess the one positive is I think DJ Jones is probably capable of carrying the load for him at running back until Harrison Whaley gets back. But other than that, man, like the quarterback play wasn't great. Arizona State, though, I think that they are probably a little bit of a sleeper team there in the Big 12, right? Sam Leavitt and company, and I think folks weren't giving Arizona State the credit that they deserved, but Wyoming certainly did themselves no favors this week, and hopefully they can regroup and bounce back because and play some good football, some smash mouth, run the ball, and defense like Wyoming's known for.
And then let's highlight some G5 versus G5 matchups. We had Coastal Carolina takes it to Jacksonville State. That Jacksonville State defense did not look like it did just a year ago, as Coastal Carolina wins 55-27. Anything that you want to talk about there, Justice?
Yeah, I mean, the Jacksonville State just looked bad altogether. Offensively, defensively, that defense is not good. I knew they would not be as good as they were last year. They lost so much talent, but I did not expect them to play as bad as they did here in week 1. Be interesting to see if they can kind of regroup and get that defense playing better. Offensively wasn't good either. We saw the quarterback rotation there of Logan Smothers and Tyler Huff. Tyler Huff, clearly the better passer of the two, but he didn't look great. He threw a couple picks. Who did look really, really good? Ethan Vasco.
Yeah.
Ethan Vasco looked really, really good for Coastal Carolina. I heard folks talking before that game and looking at the depth chart there for Coastal Carolina, and it was Ethan Vasco or Noah Kim. That was just some gamesmanship, I would assume. Ethan Vasco looked really good, and I expect him to have a huge season there for the Chanticleers. They rotated at running back, as you might expect in that offense, and then receiver. I don't know that any one receiver really kind of stood out to me, but Ethan Vasco was the star of the show, that the star of the game on Thursday night.
And I mean, it happened Thursday, but getting all the way through the week, Vasco was named the Sun Belt Player of the Week. So
Yeah, he looked good, man. He looked really good running and passing. So big
what do they
season
say?
incoming.
Chance up.
That's right.
So then we got, I guess, I don't know if I want to keep this to the end or not, but this is an exciting game. I got to watch a little bit of this on my going between different places while we are out. But Boise State wins 56-45 over Georgia Southern. It actually kind of looked like a rout there at the beginning when I first tuned in, and then later I tuned in. It was a lot closer. Justice, did you have eyes on this one? I know you had more eyes on it than I did.
Yeah, I mean, boys, JC French was kind of like a shocker to me. Like you said, Boise State got out to that 14-0 lead. But kind of the shocking thing for me was the play of JC French, man. Like, we saw him in limited action a year ago. But when we saw him a year ago, it was mostly like special packages. And when JC French was in, like, he was going to run the ball. And so I certainly did not have JC French having 50 pass attempts on my bingo card. Like, that was not something I saw coming. But man, he looked pretty good. He completed 28 of them. Throwing to Derwin Burgess Jr., Dalen Cobb, kind of the top two targets there. And then, he did well on the ground too. He had almost 40 yards rushing, a rushing touchdown. Jalen White played well. I mean, the game shocked me from an offensive output standpoint from Georgia Southern. I just did not expect that. And then I thought the Boise defense would be, I mean, I didn't necessarily think that they were, a top, elite defense, but I expected them to play better than they did here in week one. So, those are probably the two biggest shockers to me: the play of JC French and the play of the Boise State defense. And then Ashton Jeanty is just he's a beast.
And you mentioned JC French coming in for those running plays. He did have 16 pressures in this game, so that maybe led to a little bit more running than you might typically see. But yeah, having that dual threat ability is going to be huge for Georgia Southern this year. Gives them a little bit of a dynamic that they haven't had in a while.
Absolutely. Because Davis Brin was not a runner. He was pretty much a statue back there. And so if JC French is going to be able to sling it around and run, man, like he's in for a big year.
And then we had North Texas pulls out the win, 52-38 over South Alabama. This one was a fun one to watch. If you got to, I got to see a little bit more of a game cast on this one. But what do you want to mention here from North Texas? We've got a new quarterback on North Texas. We've got a freshman. I guess it would be a redshirt freshman there on the other side. What do you want to mention here, Justice?
Yeah, I mean, I got to see the first half, and it was, kind of back and forth, pretty tight first half, and then I did not see the second half. I had left to go to the Old Dominion watch party, and man, North Texas just kind of lit them up there in the second half. But two outstanding quarterbacks, Chandler Morris, Gio Lopez. Definitely an exciting game if you like offense. I thought the South Alabama defense would be a little bit better than they played, and I thought the North Texas defense looked a little bit better than they did a year ago. I mean, I think a year ago this would have been like a 58-52 kind of game, or 52-50 kind of game. So you see a little bit of improvement there on that North Texas defense in terms of at least keeping South Alabama out of the end zone. But Chandler Morris and Gio Lopez, both went over 400 yards. Just an exciting game for offense, and I think both of these teams, will be in the upper half of their respective conferences.
And when people tune into Sunbelt games, or not, sorry, when people turn into games like this for South Alabama and North Texas, when they're looking at this, this is what they're expecting. They're expecting like these gunslinger type games where you got Gio Lopez 49 pass attempts, and then you've got Chandler Morris 41 pass attempts. Like you said, both going over 400 yards. We had Damian Ward with like 200. I'm trying to remember 200 and some odd yards,
230 yards on 12 catches. Yeah.
and then you had
Jamal
Jamal
Pritchett, 10
Pritchett.
catches,
Like it was
197 yards. She
Yeah.
almost, I mean, that's crazy thinking about it, right? You had two quarterbacks go over 400 yards. You almost had two receivers go over 200 yards. That's insane.
Yeah, so when you're looking at these kind of matchups, that's I guess the new modern day age. This is what people, I would say, I don't know. I feel like more than half the people want to see. You got the people that want to see a 3-0 game. They want to see good defense. There's other people that just want to see scoring the ball. This was a entertaining game to watch. Then another game that I was very, very excited for. I got to actually watch a little bit of this game. Sam Houston at Rice. It actually wasn't as close as I thought it would be. Especially being at Rice, you got 34-14. Sam Houston pulls it out. Mentioned before, we get Hunter Watson, community college here from Iowa. He gets put in as the starter. He does well. He runs the ball. I think without sack yardage, he had like 80 some yards, 87 yards rushing. And then you got Quavez Humphreys taking over that.
First play of the game, right? Like the bomb to Quavez.
Oh, that was second drive. Second drive
I
of
thought
the
it was
game.
First play of the game. I knew it was early. I didn't get to watching this game because of the weather delay there at the Old Dominion game. But
And then we got some comments here in the YouTube. Wilson Roofing, big fans of the G5. They say North Texas without his second leading receiver, Landon Size, from last year. Best interior offensive lineman plus 3 secondary players were suspended.
well, and
77
they lost
new
Isheem
players.
Young too, right? Isheem Young, we talked about last week, was gone due to injury. That was a big loss for them.
So UNT, big things coming for them. The other thing with Rice was Dean Connors had, I think it was 8 receptions. So kind of the nine. It was kind of like rinse and repeat from last year. With just being a monster in the receiving game, and getting those receptions there.
And Bowden growing too from the tight end position. I think he might have led all tight ends in targets this week, or at least the G5. He for sure did. But it might have been or was close to all tight ends. He was definitely up there. And then EJ Warner threw a pick 6 that didn't help. He threw another interception. So I think that the story I heard was the kind of those turnovers is kind of what led to the difference in that game. And Sam Houston, we it's two teams we were both kind of high on. I think you were higher on Sam Houston than I was. When we turned in our G5 top 25 poll today, we kind of flopped them, right? We had preseason, we had Rice number 10, and I want to say we had Sam Houston, I don't remember, by 16, 17, something like that, I feel like. And when we turned in our poll for this week, we had moved Sam Houston up to number 10 and dropped Rice down to number 25. I think Rice will bounce back. I think they're too good of a team not to, but definitely encouraging to see the Bearcats play so well so early here in 2024.
And then we had Nevada at Troy, 28-26. Nevada pulls out a victory. Were you able to watch a little bit of this, Justice?
I did. Again, I don't think the Nevada defense is very good, but they're good enough. They were good enough to get the win. I mean, the offense there, again, surprising. Nevada, I mean, they're just better than I think anyone would have expected them to be. Troy, I thought defensively they would have played a lot better. I know they lost a lot, lost their whole staff, but I thought defensively Troy would be better. I didn't think they'd be as good as they have been the last few years, but again, kind of like Jacksonville State, I didn't expect the drop off to be this drastic. But that Troy defense did not look great. Offensively, Damian Taylor kind of looked really, really good for them. 100 yards on 11 carries. Goose Crowder played okay. Devontae Ross played all right offensively, but I think the story there for Troy really is the defense and how bad that defense looked after the last several seasons. Troy has been one of the best defenses in all the G5, so be interesting to kind of see if they can get things turned around. But kudos to Jeff Choate there at Nevada and kind of getting things turned around so quickly. I mean, they should have won the SMU game last week. They kind of fell short there at the end, but they pulled it out this week against Troy. So be interesting to kind of see how Nevada does once they get into Mountain West play.
And was there something that stood out to you about Troy's defense, that linebacker unit?
They rotated so much, man. I expected Stephen Catledge to kind of be the man there at linebacker for the Trojans, and he didn't even get the start. He played well in his limited snaps, but they kind of rotated four linebackers there, and that was not what I expected. And so that was a little bit of a surprise to me. We'll see if that has if the play of the defense has changes things moving forward. But yeah, that surprised me, the rotation there at linebacker.
And then the other game that we wanted to highlight is Sacramento State at San Jose State, 42-24. San Jose State pulls it out. I got to watch this because it wasn't over the weekend, and boy,
Thursday.
Were we excited to see this offense. We're wanting to see what it's going to be. We hear it's not going to be a triple option. They hire an offensive coordinator that's far from the triple option, the spread and shred offense. And we saw Nick Nash shred up the defense. Was it 15 targets, 16 targets, something like that?
Yeah, 16
10
targets,
receptions.
10 catches, 170 yards, 2 touchdowns, threw for a touchdown, as we said earlier. Floyd Chalk looked good too, right? I mean, they talked about that being a 1A, 1B situation with Jabari Bates and Floyd Chalk. And I don't know, Floyd Chalk looked like the man to me. He had a good game. And Emmett Brown started off kind of rough, but he played better as the game went on.
Yeah, and then the other kind of piece of news and notes for the San Jose offense was they brought in a because we were kind of talking about it beforehand. I don't know, early in week one, later this week was they brought in the transfer that was a slot wide receiver, and Nick Nash was that slot wide receiver was listed behind Nick Nash as that number 2. So it's like if you were reading between the lines there, you could assume that Nick Nash was be there in the slot.
Yeah, I had told you probably a while ago, back in the spring, when I saw Matthew Coleman listed as the backup to Nick Nash, and Matthew Coleman's a slot receiver. So that kind of led me to led to my deduction. Oh, well, Nick Nash is in the slot. Stutzman likes to put his best receiver in the slot. Makes total sense, right? He had Joey Hobart a year ago. Joey Hobart's in the slot. And so I think Stutzman is just the kind of guy that he's going to put, his best option in the slot. He's not necessarily married to this whole, hey, you're 6 foot something, you got to be an outside guy, and you're 5'7", you got to be the slot guy. I don't think he subscribes to that theory. And Nick Nash certainly showed out there week 1 for the Spartans.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. Come back and join us next week as we discuss what happened in week 2, as well as look forward to week 3 of the 2024 season. And as always, bring you up to date on all the latest news and the happenings in the world of G5 college football. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you're watching on X, please give us a retweet, like, follow, and if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please subscribe and leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. Thank you all for your support, and until next time, we are the G5 Hive.